our MSc Pre-Registration Nursing Studies Adult webinar today. It's great to have you all here with us. My name is Hannah Davis. I am the Recruitment and Conversion Manager for the School of Health and Life Sciences here at GCU. And we are joined today by David Barber, who is the Programme Lead for the MSc Pre-Registration Nursing Studies Adult Programme here at GCU. Just to make you aware, we will be recording this session to send out to you and to everyone who can't make it today. So don't worry about that. You can revisit all of the slides afterwards. David will be delivering a short presentation, after which please feel free to ask any questions you may have about the programme or life here at GCU. We're here to help. So I will now pass over to David. And yes, please feel free to ask any questions throughout. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Hannah, and it's lovely to be here and to have you all with me this morning. So as Hannah said, I'm David Barber. I'm the Programme Lead for the MSc Pre-Registration Nursing Studies programme here at GCU. So we've got a few slides that I'm going to run through just to give you a bit more information about the programme, which hopefully you found quite interesting and useful. And as Hannah says, there'll be opportunities for questions as well. So we'll just run through these slides just now. Okay, so Glasgow Caledonian University is the University of the Common Good. It's really a vibrant multicultural university, and it's home now to some of the world-leading research centres, international campuses and partnerships around the world. There's 4 schools within the university. So we have the Glasgow School for Business and Society, School for Computing, Engineering and the Built Environment, School of Health and Life Sciences, and we also have Glasgow Caledonian University, London, which is our London campus. Our programme falls within the School of Health and Life Sciences. So within the School of Health and Life Sciences, we have our Department of Nursing and Community Health, and there are 2 pre-registration nursing degree programs. So we have the undergraduate BSc Nursing Studies and BSc Honours Nursing Studies, and we also have the Masters Pre-Registration Nursing Studies, which is what we're going to talk about today. So I'm the Programme Lead for the MSc Pre-Registration Nursing Studies programme. Just to note, it is adult field only for that Masters Pre-Registration. For the undergraduate, we offer that for other fields of nursing as well. All of the pre-registration nursing programs at GCU require 4,600 hours of preparation, and this is something that's set out by the NMC in terms of our regulation. So 4,600 hours of preparation. Half of that, 2,300 hours, are academic and 2,300 hours are practice placements. So you can see from that there's a lot of hours spent within placements over all of the pre-registration nursing programs. Okay, so the MSc programme came about really to allow graduates from any discipline, any background, to have the opportunity to transfer their graduate skills and to be able to harness them in becoming an NMC registered adult nurse. What we found is that there were lots of people that had entered other careers and then have decided through various life events, changes in circumstances, or perhaps they've always wanted to become a nurse but not had an opportunity, that they decided they wanted to come into the profession. So we wanted to offer a route for graduates to become an adult registered nurse as well. So on successful completion of the Masters Pre-Registration Programme, graduates would gain a master's degree, but they would also, importantly, gain entry to the Nursing Midwifery Council's register as a registered general nurse. Okay, so we're just going to look briefly just at some of the educational aims of the programme now. As I mentioned before, the idea or the aim of the programme is to develop graduate nurses who are able to deliver person-centred, safe, effective care, so that they're able to work with other professions and agencies and able to address people's needs in an ever-changing and complex healthcare environment. So we really have to prepare our graduates to be able to meet the requirements of the modern nursing workforce. Okay, we have lots of different strategies to do that throughout the program. So there's a range of different modules which cover the key aspects of nursing. And by the end of the program, together with the theory and all of the practice requirements, nurses or graduates from the program will enter the profession as an adult registered nurse. So part of the program as well, an important part of the program is about developing critical thinking skills, developing theoretical knowledge and understanding, and having the practical skills and competencies to be able to deliver high quality evidence-based care that is compassionate, competent and person-centered. And you'll see that those are themes running through all of our modules. Successful completion will facilitate the graduate's ability to meet the current and emerging health needs of individuals, families and communities within a local, national and global context. And actually that's one of the really nice things about the programme, is that we do have quite a global focus. And we have a global health module as part of the programme. And we're looking at health issues from a local, national and also the global context. If you are interested in the program, then you'll want to know about the entry requirements. So as this is a graduate entry program, we require students to have the equivalent of a UK Honours 2-2 in any non-adult nursing discipline. So we encourage and invite applications from graduates that have maybe studied in lots of different areas around social science, physical science, all sorts of different things. We also require a standard of English and maths for home and our UK students. We would be measuring this against our sort of standard grades within Scotland or GCSEs in England and national fives. For overseas students, we'd be looking at your high school certificates, but also we can consider if you've studied mathematics or English within your previous degree programs as well. So admissions can advise us on that. And that's a requirement really from our regulator, the Nursing and Midwifery Council. We also ask for students to be able to evidence some recent study so that you can demonstrate that you're able to study and you have undertaken some study in recent years, or that you have relevant continuing professional development activities. So that might be undertaking an online course that's relevant to nursing. And finally, we ask for evidence of digital literacy and actually negotiating the applications process. And if you are invited for a interview with us, then that is sufficient to be able to demonstrate your digital literacy. Indeed, engaging with the session this morning should also be evidence of that as well. I know that we might have some overseas applicants in the room just at the moment. So for applicants whose first language is not English, we would require those applicants to have an IELTS score of 7 or above. With a minimum of 6.5 permitted in writing, but 7 in all other components. So it's quite high IELTS requirements for this program, and that again is from our regulator, the Nursing and Midwifery Council. If you're unsure about any of that, then again, admissions can advise you on that. Okay, so this is the nice bit, and actually next month in November, I'll be taking part in the graduation ceremonies. So it's always nice when students reach the end of their program and successfully graduate. So on completion, if you are successful in getting a place on the program and you successfully complete, then you would be exiting the program with a master's degree, so an MSc, and you would also be a registered nurse, registered with the Nursing and Midwifery Council. So the NMC is the UK's regulator. However, it is also recognised by lots of other countries around the world as well. So there are opportunities for working internationally for many NMC registered nurses once they exit the programme, if that's something that you're interested in. So why choose nursing at GCU then? So we have a values-based curriculum. So all of our curriculum, all of our modules are based around the important values of nursing. So that's around things like person-centered care, respecting diversity, promoting safety, all of these things. We adopt a blended learning approach, so there is online pre-class learning activities for each of the modules, and also some post-class online activities as well. However, one of the really nice things about the program is that all of our teaching is on campus and delivered face to face. So that's a real good point. It allows for this dynamic to develop within the classrooms as well, and that can help to promote learning as you go through the program as well. We also have some shared learning with other programs, which we'll run into in the next couple of slides. So we do have other master's pre-registration programs within health and social care, and actually you get the opportunity to share alongside some of those students as well, which is always very nice for students. It's really important that we engage our students, so we have opportunities throughout the program where students can feed back on what is going well, areas that they might feel could be improved, and we can work closely with students to be able to deliver curriculum that's really beneficial and that delivers what they need. Part of that as well is about having service user involvement. So it's really important that we work with NHS health boards and also with third sector organisations. So for this programme in particular, we have involvement with Spinal Injuries Scotland, who are quite often involved in some of our curriculum design. They'll have representatives who are individuals that have suffered a spinal injury themselves to come in and speak to students. So it's really important that we get our service users, so their patients and their families involved as well. I mentioned before about the global dimension to the program. So we do promote an international kind of focus within the program, and there may be options if you're successful in gaining a place and you do enter the program, there may be options for you to undertake placements abroad, for example, or to be involved in some studies, whether that be online with other institutions as well that are abroad. We have interprofessional education as well, which is a really important part of the program. So you would be involved in an IPE, interprofessional education module, which involves learning alongside others master's pre-registration programs in physio, occupational therapy, diagnostic imaging and social work. So again, that's a really good opportunity for students to get to know each other and to learn more about each other's professions. It is a very busy program, but students will still sometimes have time to get involved in some volunteering and extracurricular activities as well. So our curriculum model revolves around some different themes. So we have our NMC standards, which govern what is required within our curriculum, so that we're delivering everything that is required. We're also driven by the standards from the Chief Nursing Officer for Scotland, and there's some policy around that from the CNO's 2030 vision. We also have involvement with our GCU Centre for Living. So this is our research focused area, and they're involved in some work around evidence-based practice and promoting research within the programme as well. Core to all of this is placing the student at the centre, along with the patient and their family as well. So there's core values around professionalism, around trust, around kindness, all of these things as well. As I mentioned before, GCU is the University of the Common Good, so we have to demonstrate that all of our modules, all of our programs are contributing to the overall benefits for society. And as nursing students, we would all be making a very positive impact on the community. So the educational philosophy, we're looking for an authentic co-produced education approach. So we use patient or person-centered scenarios through some of our teaching around inquiry-based learning. And you'll find that things increase in the level of complexity as students progress through the program. And finally, we're looking to encourage independence as students progress through the curriculum. So that's both in terms of the theory teaching and in terms of practice as well. So developing that independence and confidence to be able to practice safely and effectively. I mentioned before about shared learning. So there's opportunities in the program to have some shared learning with undergraduate students from other fields of nursing as well. So in our undergraduate program, we have children and young people, mental health and learning disability nursing, as well as adults. And we also have close engagement with service users and carers, as I mentioned before. And this couple of pictures from our interprofessional simulation centre, which is in the Governor Becky building. That's our health building on campus. So we have really pretty modern and state-of-the-art facilities in there. We have 3 or 4 mock-up ward areas, and we also have a mini intensive care bay as well. So you would be involved in teaching in these areas. You would get taught in these areas by some of our facilitators, and you'd get the opportunity to try some of your hands-on clinical nursing skills as well. So the idea is that you can develop confidence to be able to attempt these skills on our mannequins, where you can't do any damage to any actual real people. And then you get the opportunity when you're on placement to try these skills under supervision of an experienced nurse as well. So students generally really enjoy the Interprofessional Simulation Centre, and that's a really important part of your education and training on the programme as well. I've already mentioned about interprofessional learning, so IPE, and these are the programs that we share some learning across, so physiotherapy, occupational therapy, social work and diagnostic imaging. And these are just some nice pictures of some of our students across the pre-registration nursing programs that have had the opportunity to go out and visit other countries, whether that's to do short placements or for field trips, these kind of things. We also have done some work in the past with shared teaching, whether that be online as well with other countries, with other nursing schools around the world. So as I mentioned before, quite a strong international focus throughout the programme and the Department of Nursing and Community Health. These are some of the places that students have been lucky enough to go to. Okay, so that was some detail really on the program there. From a wider point of view, we also have really excellent student support services at GCU, which as students on a GCU program, you would be able to access. So these are around student health and well-being. We have a personal tutor, so every student would get a personal tutor on the program. And we also have an academic assessor. So your personal tutor and your academic assessor is normally the same person. Your academic assessor is a role that's required by our regulator again, the Nursing Midwifery Council. And the academic assessor is responsible in part for being involved in your assessment and placement. So they would work alongside experienced nurses out in practice to be able to assess you in placement as well. When you are out on placement, and there are 8 placements attached to the program, you would have a practice supervisor and a practice assessor. So as I mentioned before, these are experienced nurses who are able to support, supervise and assess you when you're out on placement. And students get a really good range of placements on this program. So that would be a range across hospital and community clinical areas. Our administrators or coordinators, our program coordinators, play a really important part with the running of the program and with the university. So you would have some involvement with program coordinators and administrators as well. We have an excellent learning development centre. And we have the learning development tutors that are able to help in terms of things like study skills, essay writing, how to research, all of these kind of things. And you can get one-to-one and group appointments for support with that as well from the Learning Development Centre. You might also see technicians, particularly in areas like the Interprofessional Simulation Centre. So they would set up some of the scenarios for you, make sure all the equipment is right. And our librarians play a really important role as well. So you'd be working with librarians at times through your programme as well, who can support you in locating evidence-based literature in order to inform your work. Lastly, we have the Students' Association, which works alongside the university, and it's the sort of independent student body that supports students throughout their programs, as well as offering things like social activities, and they have a kind of food and drink outlet, these kind of things as well, various clubs and societies, which maybe Hannah can talk a little bit more about later on. In terms of our academic year at GCU, we have trimesters. So there are 3 of these, as you might expect. Trimester A runs from September to December. Trimester B is January to April, and trimester C is our summer trimester, which is from May to the end of August. Our programme is a trimester B start, so if you were successful in getting a place on the programme and you chose to join us, then you would be commencing your studies in January. Trimester B begins at the end of January. Over trimester C, which is a summer trimester, is when we tend to have our placements. We have 2 summer placements in first year and 2 summer placements in second year as well. So there isn't any formal teaching over the summer, but students are out on placements in Glasgow and surrounding areas. The programme requires full-time attendance, including placements over the summer in both years 1 and 2, as I said there. So it is a full-time programme. Students can sometimes have part-time work, but that must be flexible to allow them to work around placement and around their full-time attendance at the university. We have holiday dates built into the program flow, so these are set and can't be changed, and that's really because we have to be able to fit in the 2,300 hours of placement that is required for the program, and that is the NMC requirement. Okay. So I'm hoping that you're finding this information useful. It's given you a little bit of an overview of the programme. We're probably about halfway through the slides just now, and I wanted to just run through some of the individual modules that you would undertake on the programme as well. So these are arranged in order of when you would be doing them, essentially. So if you were successful in joining us and chose to join us in January, your first modules in trimester B would be the Art and Science of Nursing and Developing Nursing Skills. The Art and Science of Nursing is a theory-based nursing module, and that really provides an introduction to nursing. We look at the history of nursing, where it came from, what it means to be a nurse. We look at some of the essential skills within nursing, some of the values. We look at evidence-based practice. We look at the research body that's developing for nursing as well, and various other things around the therapeutic relationship, around developing person-centered care, all of these kind of things. The Developing Nursing Skills module, as the name would suggest, is your hands-on sort of skills module. So you would get some physiology teaching within that, which is delivered by our life sciences teaching team. So around body systems, learning the fundamentals of nursing care. So you would be in the Interprofessional Simulation Centre that we showed you a wee picture of before. And you'll get an opportunity to practice skills such as assessment, blood pressure, taking temperatures, basic life support, resuscitation, all of these sorts of skills we would be teaching you in your Developing Nursing Skills module. There's also a placement associated with that module. So from around about March time, you would have a 6-week placement with the health visiting team. So that would be out in the community. And yep, so that would be your first of 8 placements throughout the program. So that would take you to the summer, and once you had completed those 2 modules, and you would start your first summer placement. So we have 2 consecutive 8-week placements over the summer, and they are hospital based, and that's when you would start to develop some of your nursing skills and be able to deliver those, practice those under the supervision of your practice supervisor and practice assessor, who, as I mentioned before, are qualified, experienced nurses out in the NHS. So after the summer, you do have some holidays built in there as well. So a couple of weeks at the start of the summer and a couple of weeks at the end of the summer, and then you would be moving into trimester A, which is your first interprofessional education module. In fact, it's your only interprofessional education module, which is the interprofessional working context, organisations and practice. So that's taught alongside the MSc Pre-Reg Physio, OT, Social Work and Diagnostic Imaging programs. So it's a great opportunity for you to work with other professions and to learn more about their professions, what their roles are in health and social care. So you would have a better understanding of the context of interprofessional working. We also look at organisations and leadership and developing interprofessional practice. Alongside your IPE module, at the same time, you would be undertaking a promoting values module as well, which is where we look at in more depth at things like ethics, around therapeutic relationship, around the NMC code, around human rights. All of these kind of things are embedded within our promoting values module. The third module that you would be undertaking in trimester A, so that would be from September through to December, is the person-centered adult nursing module. This is actually my module. I'm the module lead for this. And this is where we look at a different condition every fortnight. So we cover a range of different conditions, including cancer, diabetes, heart failure. We look at self-harm and suicide. We also look at stroke. And every fortnight, we look at a different patient scenario, and students are involved in developing a care plan. They go off and research about that particular topic and deliver a mini seminar within the class as well. So that's our person-centered adult nursing module. And we try and link in some of the pathophysiology as well of these conditions, as well as considering the nursing interventions and care planning. The following, as you would move then into second year on the programme, so that would be from January 25 if you were entering the programme in January, then you would be undertaking the global health module, which I kind of talked about a little bit before. We look at various different aspects of public health and global health. We look around disaster management and dealing with sustainability as well. So the impact of that on health. There's a range of different things that we cover within the global health module. Alongside global health, you would also be undertaking your enhancing nursing skills module. So as you might imagine, that is a kind of step up from the developing nursing skills. So you would be, again, doing the hands-on activities in the Interprofessional Simulation Centre. But these would be more advanced skills. And associated with that is some pathophysiology teaching as well, which is delivered again by our life sciences team. Again, a placement is attached to that module where you would be looking at community nursing. So that's normally a district nursing placement, a 6-week placement as well. Following those modules, you would then be heading into the summer again to undertake your second year of summer placements, and that would again be 2 8-week consecutive placements, either in hospital or community settings. And then you would be heading into trimester A, and you would be undertaking our leading and managing complex care in adult nursing. This is a final skills module, so you would get some teaching in the Interprofessional Simulation Centre. This is where we tend to deliver our most advanced skills teaching, so you would be doing things around arterial blood gases, ECG interpretation, chest auscultation. So that's listening into people's chests, doing various more advanced investigations and assessments on patients as well. And we also cover some of the leadership and management as well that's required for being a registered nurse as you're starting to prepare to complete the programme. Throughout the second year on the programme, there is a dissertation. So this is research-based, so you could undertake either a primary data collection study, or you can undertake a literature review of a particular topic of interest. So you're supported in your dissertation by a dissertation supervisor, and you would have a full year to be able to complete your dissertation over the second year of your programme. The very final part of the programme is the final trimester, the final 4 months, and that is all practice. So all of the theory components of the programme would be completed by that point, and you would be completing your final 2 placements, which involve critical care and a final 12-week placement as well. So that just gives you a bit of information about each of the modules, which was hopefully helpful for you. I've mentioned a few times already just about practice learning. So the program is 50% theory and 50% practice. So working out in practice, being out on placement is a really, really important part of the program, as you would expect. So these are the times, the number of weeks that you would spend out in placements as you go through the program. So it's in a range of different settings. For our programme, all of the placements would be within the Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board area. And when you are out on placement, you are supervised by experienced members of staff, so practice supervisors and practice assessors as well. Okay. So we call our placements experiences, practice learning experiences, or PLEs, and we have 8 of those, as I mentioned before, and they would be across a range of different settings, hospitals, they could be in residential care, they could be in community settings, and there are a large number of different clinical areas where students can go on to placement. We organise all of the placements for you, so you don't have to go out and find placements, and those placements, our placements team will try and allocate you to be able to attend those within a reasonable travelling distance from your term time address. Commonly in Glasgow and in Scotland generally, our nursing staff tend to work 12-hour shifts in the hospital environment. So typically that might be 7 in the morning to 7 p.m. or 8 till 8, these kind of things. It does include weekends, public holidays, and some night shift work as well. Our community placements tend to be more a Monday to Friday shift pattern. So that would normally be around kind of 9 to 5 or 8 till 4. It is a requirement of the programme that students are able to work some weekends, occasional public holidays and nights, because obviously as nurses we need to be able to provide 24-hour service provision. If you are a home student and you're in receipt of a bursary, then you will get some help with travel expenses, which is included in the bursary. We do understand that students may need to have some part-time work in order to support their studies, to support themselves financially, which is absolutely fine. But we do ask that that is flexible so that it can work around the placement requirements and the study requirements for the programme as well. Okay. As it is a health programme, it's really important that we have all of our applicants, all of our students screened in terms of their health and character. So we do engage with occupational health services, and they are able to provide independent and confidential services for students, and you would be required to be screened by our occupational health service if you were successful in gaining a place on the programme. Also, in terms of good health and good character, obviously, as student nurses, you would be working with vulnerable, potentially with vulnerable members of society. So it's really important that we can establish that that all of our students on the programme are of good health and of good character. So that means that they are of sufficient health to be able to undertake the programme and to be able to work safely with patients, and they're of good character, so they haven't got any criminal convictions, or if there are any criminal convictions, those have been declared and they've been discussed as well with the university. Part of that is undertaking a PVG, so protection of vulnerable groups. So we would require all applicants to have a PVG check, which essentially is to check for any criminal records on applicants as well. Throughout the university and also within our programme as well, it's really important that we're respecting equality and diversity. So we should be focusing on the individual, identifying person-centred care, and it's essential that nursing students are able to respect that and that they abide by the Nursing and Midwifery Council code. Some students will have some additional learning needs, and that's absolutely true in this programme as well as many other programmes throughout the university, and we act where possible to make any reasonable adjustments in order to support those students. So there may be, we may signpost some students to disability services at the university in order to assess things like dyslexia, for example, and we'll be able to support where possible. However, this does have to be within the context of what is reasonable and what the nursing role requires. Okay, in terms of course fees, then I think that many of you out there are overseas students and are considering coming to GCU to undertake the programme. So on the next slide, I'll show you the fees. If there are any home students, so Scottish domiciled students, then they may potentially be eligible for a SAS bursary, and that's something that you can contact us about and we can guide you with that. Unfortunately, our overseas applicants aren't eligible for that. I'm not sure how well you can see this. The print's maybe a little bit small, but for our overseas students, the fee currently is £18,450. This is just taken from the GCU website at the moment, but obviously it's important to check all of that information, and admissions will keep you right with that. Just to let you know as well, there are some other fees that are, or other costs that may be applicable for overseas students from other parts of the UK and from the EU as well. So things like the uniforms, occupational health checks, and undertaking the PVG, the criminal convictions check as well, and they're detailed on the slide there. Okay. And it might be that Hannah will maybe touch on this a little bit more, but the university does have some accommodation as well. If you're interested in looking for that, the best place to find that is on the GCU website. We have our Caledonian Court, which is just right next to the campus, just kind of adjoining the campus, really. And that's a good area for overseas students in particular to be able to locate, and they're close to campus and they're able to get to know each other as well. So if you are interested in undertaking the programme, we're inviting applications via our website, and Hannah, perhaps we can talk a little bit more about that in the Q&A, about the kind of process for that. If you do have any queries, you can contact our admissions team as well. Okay, so finally, just to thank you all for your attention. Hopefully you found that relevant and interesting, just to give you a bit more detail on the program, on the modules, what it's all about. And then I think there'll be an opportunity for us to take some questions. Hannah will just keep me right with the process now. Hi, Hannah.
Hi, I'm back. Thank you so much, David. That was a really, really insightful presentation. I believe we've got quite a few people on our webinar now, and I'm sure we've got some questions, but there's some that have already been lined up for you. So I don't know if you can see the chat there, David, but if you just go back a few, there's a question there from 20 past 11, and then there's another one there from Jenny after that. So the first question is, are placements and lectures 50-50? And then the question just following that is, what's the lecture timetable like? How many classes do we get in a week?
Sure. Yep. So, so in terms of the teaching time, it's a 50-50 split between theory teaching and placement, as I mentioned before. But the theory does include some self-directed teaching as well. So you would be required usually for example, for my module that's running just now, person-centered adult nursing, that is a 3-hour class on campus each week. There's also the promoting values class, which is 3 hours again on campus per week, over a 12-week trimester. The skills modules tend to have quite a bit of teaching time assigned to them, because there's the practical sessions within the labs, where you students would be trying out things like blood pressure, administering injections, these sorts of things. So it works out as 50% theory, 50% practice, if you include the self-directed study time as well within that. But yeah, typically students could expect to maybe be on campus 3 out of the 5 days per trimester ordinarily, and our classes tend to be either 2 hours or 3 hours typically, if that gives you kind of an idea. But when students are out with the classes, they are expected to be doing research, reading, all of these kind of things as well. Hopefully that answers the question.
That's great. And I think the next one is just from Jenny there.
Sure.
Jenny's just asking about cohort size.
Yep. So cohort size, we are probably aiming for around 30, I would expect, in a cohort just now. So just now I've got 26 in my my current first year group in trimester A at the moment. So yeah, it's a relatively small cohort, which actually makes it really nice in terms of teaching, in terms of the level of engagement. All the students will get to know each other really well, and it creates a kind of nice vibe, a nice atmosphere in the classroom. So typically round about that. Obviously, we don't have the full final numbers as yet, but we would be expecting maybe between about 25 to 30 students starting. Anything else? I'll let you just pick the questions.
Yep, that's fine. So I'm just having a little look here. Akpan Jackson was just asking about payment plans. So what I've done is I've actually added a link from the website that has lots of information on tuition fees and how to pay. So hopefully that helps answer the question for you. And I believe another couple have just been moved to the Q&A section.
All right, okay.
So let me just check. There's another question that's in there, David. If you look at the published section, another question from Akpan Jackson.
Yep.
And he's just asking about working while undertaking the programme. I know you kind of touched on that, but I don't know if there's any more we can expand on it.
Yeah. So absolutely, most of our students do actually work, and the vast majority of our students will be involved in either agency work, typically in things like care homes or hospital areas, or in the NHS banks. And they're actually great because obviously it's related to the subject area, so you're developing skills even and experiences as you go through that and doing some work, but also it's flexible. The issue is that, you know, students can't sort of pick their shifts when they're on placement. And placement areas will try and allow some flexibility where possible and reasonable. But, you know, students can't kind of say, you know, I need to be off placement a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday because I work. It has to work around the placement, if that makes sense. So yeah, most students do engage in some work, but it needs to be flexible. And actually, the NHS banks are really keen to take on student nurses. So that's one of the things on the programme that we would put announcements out about. You know, inviting you to apply to the NHS bank as a student nurse, and you can get paid employment that's flexible and it can work around your studies as well. So there might be periods, you know, where it's perhaps not quite so intense on the program, where you have got a little bit more time and you can absolutely work some more paid shifts, and that's fine. And there might be other times, you know, where you're approaching assessment deadlines, or if you're on another placement, that you might have to cut back a little bit on the working. So long as it's flexible, we fully understand that students have to very often support themselves with some paid employment as well. There was a question, Hannah, I saw about the English language there, so it's maybe just bringing that up. So I know that many of you out there are overseas students, and you'll be a bit concerned about IELTS. So the IELTS it's not set by the university, it's set by the Nursing and Midwifery Council. So it's a really important part of our entry requirements. We have to be able to assure that the standard of English, in kind of written, spoken, reading, understanding, is of a sufficiently high level to be able to work, you know, safely and effectively as a nurse. So that's why the IELTS standards are high for this program. That's not something we have any control over. So just to reiterate, it's an IELTS of 7 in all components, with the exception of writing, where students can actually have a 6.5. So there's a little bit more leeway on that. The NMC as well does have a list of approved English-speaking countries, and there's a range of different countries on that. Unfortunately, I know a lot of our applicants are from Nigeria. That isn't on that list, so it isn't exempt from IELTS. So you would require IELTS. The only exception to that really is if you have studied in the UK before. You can maybe keep me right on this, Hannah. If you've studied at the UK before, at I believe it's HND level or above, but the issue for the student visa is normally it would need to be at master's level.
Yes,
so if you have
that's
studied,
correct.
is that correct, Hannah?
Yes,
If you have studied in the UK, taught in English, then it might be possible for you to kind of circumvent the IELTS requirements. However, I think is a minimum of 3 years residency as well for
You're
that.
doing very well, David. Yes, I was just about to add that. So if applicants not born in the UK have been in the country for a minimum of 3 years and have completed an HNC access course or above in the UK, then they do not need to undertake IELTS or the occupational English language test in advance of starting the course. I'm also, just while we're talking, I've been in conversation with one of our admissions tutors, Monica, and she is saying that there's also the allowance where an applicant has been in the UK. Oh no, she's saying exactly the same thing as I've just said there. That's hilarious. No, so it's only if you've been in the UK for a minimum of 3 years and have completed an HNC. So yes, the English language, I'm very conscious that there'll be quite a few of you who have that as an outstanding condition on your application. The best we can say is that if you can just get your IELTS test booked in as soon as possible, and then hopefully we can progress with your application. I know that the requirements are obviously quite high, but as David says, that's just to align ourselves with the NMC guidelines. So yeah, best of luck with that if that's something that you're outstanding on. Have we got any other questions just while you've got David? Anything you want to ask about the presentation or anything you want to ask about the programme? It's probably the best opportunity you're going to get to have him online with us at the moment. One thing I will just say while we wait, in case any other questions come in, is I've also added the link to the accommodation pages, David. I know that was a question that popped up. So if anyone has any queries there around private or university accommodation, then please just check those pages. And I've also added some information around those payment plans too, because I know that was a query also. I'm just having a wee look. Stella was asking about her WAEC from Nigeria, but unfortunately, no, that is not accepted, Stella. It would just be your IELTS test is probably the best way to go at the minute. Scholarships, yes. So the scholarship information is all on the websites. I will add the link to the scholarship information at the moment, so that you can see anything that's available for international students. Do that while we chat.
Just in relation to, I know that there was a question about working alongside the studies. It's just, again, when students are on placement, it's really a full-time placement, hours that would be expected. That averages out about 37.5 hours a week. Maybe some weeks where students are expected to be up to 48 hours on placement. But that's normally, only once every 4 weeks or so. So you would have to be able to kind of work around that on placement. So that's probably the most demanding periods of your program in terms of time. So if there's flexibility to undertake, more work in other periods of the program, and then to reduce the hours when you're on placement, then that's probably the way to go with that. But the key thing is about it being flexible employment, really.
Absolutely. Okay, have we got any last questions for David? I'm conscious of time, so we've just got a couple more minutes left on the webinar, so please feel free to ask any questions. And if not, I think we can probably just wrap things up. Just a couple more minutes. Oh, I think that might be us, David.
No, that's fine. Well, I know I've not been able to see any of you out there, but it's nice to know that you're all there, that you're interested in the program. I get to see Hannah.
Exactly. They've been able to see you, David. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do hope it was useful for you, and the whole team are happy to kind of answer any inquiries and things. What's the best way for them to get in touch,
Absolutely.
Hannah?
So I'm actually just going to drop the student inquiries at gcu.ac.uk email address in there. So if anyone has any queries or questions, please feel free just to get in touch on that email address. And our inquiries team will be more than happy to answer any queries you may have. If you have anything that's related to admissions, again, please feel free just to send it into that email address, because they will be able to forward it to the relevant person or people. I would say email the admissions mailbox, but actually that's very, very busy at this time of year, so probably better to go via inquiries in the first instance. Yeah, and all that's left to say is thank you so much for attending our webinar today. Thank you to David for his presentation. It was really, really informative. As I said at the beginning, we'll send out all of the slides to everyone who attended today, so you'll have a reference, and to everyone who wasn't able to make it. And I think that all that's left to say is we hope to see you in January. It would be great to have you all on board at GCU. So thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.